Shout out to everybody here on the live. We're going to show you so much information. Going to have a blast. We're going to run a clinic today. I can't wait. Wait for this countdown. Can't wait to jump on in with you. We'll be right there. The Crypto Livers. Let's go. What a day it is to be alive. Shout out to everybody here on the live. Thank you for jumping on it. Appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Critical time for Bitcoin on this beautiful Monday morning. Man, Mondays, baby, Mondays. And after such a punch last week, let's talk about what Bitcoin has done in the last few weeks. Really want to break down the macro idea here for BTC. We're going to look at Bitcoin on the US all-time history index chart here. And we're just going to have some fun on the bigger time frames. I'm going to bounce on out to this monthly candle, which is closing oh so soon. And we're going to break down Bitcoin together here like we do every single day. But what I want to look at really is the monthly. And we want to just take a look at this bigger move here for Bitcoin. So at the beginning of the month, of last month, last month we started. All right, let's look at the last month. We opened at 84,000 last month. All right, the high was 95. We were cooking. And we got beat all the way back down to $76,000 in 1 month. I mean, it was crazy, right? And we would close back at 82,000 though. So it was kind of a scare. We would get back at 82. In the whole month, we'd only go down $1,800. But we went from 95 all the way to 76. It was basically a $20,000 move. But the whole month from open to close, because we opened at 84, we closed at 82.5. It's kind of crazy, only $1,800. But what a monster move that month that was, right? But it closed with more of a wick to the, from the upside to the downside. And, that can be bearish. At the same time, it showed some support. The previous candle had some wick, and we really had to see how our next month would go. Now, notoriously, April is a bullish month, so we were all hoping for the last 7-8 years. I think of the last 10 years, 7 of the last 10 Aprils have been bullish and pretty substantial with 3, 4, 5% gains for Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin now up 14% on the month right now, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. So I like what I'm seeing here for Bitcoin of the month. We want to close out strong here for April and really get this continuation further. And I'm just super, super excited to see what Bitcoin holds for the month of May. Now, May continuation, or are we going to get a bit of a pullback? In my humble opinion, it kind of looks like you made a flag on the monthly that could be breaking out here and getting a big move. Is that the end of the bigger rally? The monthly is pretty high. How much more can you get? But when the Stokes for these runs, look at every time the monthly got high, they get very well above the dotted line and into the shaded region. We did not get that yet. So to me, the RSI, if we look at the monthly RSI and we isolate it for a split second here, it tells us that we're not going to get into a major rally status or some, into some really high zones here until Bitcoin gets somewhere up into this, something like this, and we get in and we shade it out, right? And then we know we're going to get the massive bearish div, and that's when the monthly's going to cook. And, so again, I want to see that bigger time frame move for Bitcoin on the monthly before, because a lot of people are starting to say that the monthly has bearish div. We were cooked. It's over. You know what I mean? And you could say, look at this, swing up to swing up. This swung down. But for me, you have to go to that. You have to go from this to there. And that is it right there. And we did get the move down. But the move down gave us a bull flag. And then if, everyone likes to pick apart their TA, but is this not a giant cup and handle on the monthly? And can't this monthly just do absolute damage here? It continued to the upside, pushed that target to $134,000. Heck. And it says it could get there. It could take till May. When you really zoom out, it could take till May or February of 2026. That would make the most sense to me. Bitcoin goes to 130,000 somewhere by May or by February. And we get everyone wants way more than we usually get out of these rallies. And again, we've already had a monster move for Bitcoin. So I say no to the naysayers who claim this is a bigger bearish div on the monthly and we're in for some massive pain. It just doesn't make sense with the M2 money supply, which is basically runs ahead of Bitcoin. It has already kind of gotten a bit of a pump. So that's something that's pretty substantial too. And we should follow that. All right. Bitcoin also likes to follow gold. And, if you juxtapose gold and Bitcoin, and I'm going to show you gold. Gold had a beautiful move. I see gold pulling back, actually, and giving some love to Bitcoin. Let's talk about what I see. Look at this. So gold was on a tear while Bitcoin actually struggled a couple times. There was days where Bitcoin was going down while gold was ripping. But I see gold in this head and shoulder and likely starting to pull back here. And, again, I think overall it'll continue on its massive tear over time. this will make some type of flag, and I see gold just continuing to rip. They're going to continue to print money. Like, you see gold at $4,400 an ounce somewhere by August of 2028, something like that. And then you have the Bitcoin halving. Everything really started to come into play the way we desire it. But you can see gold's going to give something back. And when gold gives something back, I think, it's going to be Bitcoin's turn. And we're going to see a bigger move here for Bitcoin, coming. So as we continue this flag, and, you're somewhere here on Monday, you should be somewhere in here. Flag continues. We want to see this just continue to go sideways for our bigger push. Somewhere into Thursday or Friday, if this could get the bigger move for BTC. So this is the love that we're looking for. We do not want to lose the daily 200 MA. You lose the daily 200 MA for Bitcoin, you got to start thinking that this is a false rally that could move to the downside. We got to get back above key resistances there too. $99,000 and $100,000 for Bitcoin. 100K could happen. A lot of people say, hey, but the Stokes are too high, Sam. Let me show you some anomalies in the stochastics RSI, all right? Let me show you BTC, USDT. I'll show you the Binance chart. Where are we looking? Even, the USD Coinbase chart. That works for me. That's long enough. And what I want to show you, I'll get rid of the moving averages, but I want to really focus in on the stochastics RSI. So we're going to delete the RSI. We're going to delete the MACD. We're going to pull up the Stokes, and we're going to get kind of really intimate here with price action in the Stokes, right? And what I want you to see is when we get on these massive rallies here, like here, we got overbought on the stochastics RSI, and this is where everyone would say you should short the market. All the other times that we got high here, we struggled up. Here we got high, sideways. There we got high, we took the dump. But Bitcoin was overall so bullish at this time. No matter how bearish we got, there was just so much buy pressure. But look, so overbought here. But what did Bitcoin do? It made a bull flag. And then even though the Stokes reset, we went sideways. And this is what I teach my students, to juxtapose price action and stochastic. So let's kind of go into this for a split second. And you can do this on any single time frame. Let's go to one of the coins that ripped recently, TARS AI, right? And if you go back in time, you can take a look here. Let's go to let's say the 1 hour time frame, remove the moving averages. And again, you are overbought on the stochastics RSI here. They had to reset. You can even look at it on the 4 hour, which is even better. The bigger time frame, the more obvious this is. But so look at the stochastics above the dotted line. Boom. You knew we were going to have to come down and reset. Now, when you're bearish, every time you're above the dotted line, look, dump, because you're in a bear market, the trend down. So, but when the trend changes, what will happen is the stochastics will go from the top to the bottom, but price action will go sideways. And this is what I learned, how to print money. So the safest trades are when the Stokes reset down, but the price action's still there. And then I know, boom, we made this trade for TARS at 3 cents, 3 and 4 cents. This thing is already somewhere up at 10 cents, ripping to the upside, right? So let's replay this again. Price action's in a downtrend. You're watching the stochastics RSI. Every time the Stokes get high, price comes back down inside the trend, right? But eventually you go up, and on one of these up, you go higher and you break this high. You come back down for usually a downtrend, and then you break it up again. But this time you'll come back down, but price will go sideways. So you don't have to predict anything. You just have to look for markets to shift and then take this, go hard at this. Stokes reset, price is sideways. That tells me there's a big move coming here for Bitcoin, right? For any coin, for anything. And you could do this on any asset in the world. Again, a lot of times what you'll see is an inverted head and shoulder leading up to this because the higher low will be there, the cup and handle. If you pull the money printer, you're going to get that 786 a lot from this key area with the bounce. It's crazy how this all comes into play. But if you don't want to overlap all that and you don't learn that, you're still a beginner, but your price action and stochastics reset, price action coming down, and so, price action should come down. It doesn't. Stochastics come down, price goes sideways. And you want to repeat that over and over again. Sideways price action, downward stochastic leads to the money. That's where the money flows. That's where the money goes. Big money in that. So sideways, downward, and that's really going to spell a move over and over again. You can see this. You'll find it till I'm blue in the face. We can go back to Bitcoin here. This just happened on the daily. Let's break it down. The daily had a pump. It got high, came down, got low, right? It got high again. Now, the Stokes didn't reset here, but they did on like maybe the 4-hour time frame. So check it out. Here's a good point too. Like Bitcoin goes sideways. You know, the Stokes reset a few times here, and each time they, you know, Bitcoin should have gone lower, but every time Bitcoin resets. And so you also want to use your support and resistance. Resistance, reset, reset. So we're resetting on the stochastics, but Bitcoin's not losing the previous resistance as support. It's tell you there's a move coming. So because everyone wants to get rich, right? Everyone wants to get paid. That's why everybody's here. This is the science. Like, this is the sauce that's going to get you paid. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to say you should be taking as financial advice, but this is what you're looking for right here. On a daily basis, over and over again. And I can replicate this on the 1, the 5, the 10-minute, the 15, the 4-hour, the daily, the weekly, right? You can use this on the bigger time frames to find out where Bitcoin's going. If you want to put a large chunk of my net worth down, right? And get some water here. We're getting thirsty. Blessings on everybody out here. Thank you for jumping on in as we get through this day. Beautiful times to be alive. Thank you for everyone jumping on in here. And thank you for bearing with me during this time. You know, but I'm still going to fill this time with so much information. It's going to blow your mind. So watch this. Let's go back out to NVIDIA. Because a lot of people were confused when NVIDIA started to pump. They wanted to chase. Let's kind of break down what I see happening to NVIDIA, where I believe it's going to go in the interim here in the next few weeks to months ahead. So the weekly got very oversold. This tells me that NVIDIA is probably a screaming buy right now for a bounce. Once it bounces, the S&P will bounce too as well. One thing, you could get a shoulder ahead. You could look for the right shoulder. That will take it down longer. But there's a chance you get a bounce and get tight. If you start to get tight, that's going to be a screaming buy for NVIDIA at 135. And then if they money print, which they are likely going to do, you're going to get a pump in Bitcoin, a pump in the dollar, you know, a pump in the gold. The dollar is going to come on down, and you're going to get this beautiful pump here to 274 here for NVIDIA. So only a matter of time, in my humble opinion, but I do see a bounce. Whether NVIDIA is bearish or bullish, I do see a bounce back up to the $141 region for NVIDIA. Now that I'm kind of taking care of that, I want to show you something here. All right, my strategy yet again playing out on NVIDIA. So let's break it down. We'll go back in time here for NVIDIA. And what we always want to look for is high stochastics. So I'm always looking for those stochastics to be high. Why? Because that's when I know I can strike easy, or begin to not strike easy, but begin to formulate a plan that's going to give me the best areas for entry, right? So when I'm on the video, what I would do is what I always do when you guys will ask me about a coin. You always see me do say the same thing. I say I would flag that out, wait for the 21 to come into price action. I said we would like to see price go sideways and the stochastics reset. Now what should happen is that this price should dump. It went on a tear, it dumped. It went on a tear, it dumped. And the stochastics should reset. And even then, fine, we could get a bounce here. That might be a great place to trade it, or it might hit a support or resistance. We know. But I know if it goes sideways, there's a really good chance that I can make money. You see, so I want to identify the highest probability chances to get gains. I don't want to just get gains. I want to identify the highest probability chances to get those gains. So we're looking for this while this comes on down, and we're looking for this beautiful pump here to the upside at 80.33. So let's play this out and see what happens. But this is my sauce, right? I'm giving you the sauce. So you're looking for the 21 to come touch. You're looking for price action to go sideways, but for the stochastics to go down. Now, this could take you hit your shift button, you're going to watch this. And this is where patience comes in. Most people don't have it. This could take 140 days. You see what I'm saying? This could take a long time because it's going to take 10, 12 weeks for that flag to play out. So you gotta, so you want to have a bunch of these set up. And then you can be scalping small time frames for the next 140 days while you're waiting for big paydays. And then you wait, and then the perfect entry arrives. So watch this as this plays out. We'll get rid of this for here. And again, this is what I want to teach you. It takes a long time and patience to execute this on a bigger time frame. You're going to have to really, really work at this. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be something that you really grind for every time. All right. So let's play this out and see what happens here for NVIDIA. Spill my water there. So it gets tight. Weeks are going by now. Like I'm pausing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Now there's been some scalps in there. NVIDIA's gone from 41 to 49. There's been some moves. People have been faked out, done all sorts of stuff. But if we keep watching, we're going to see that we're going to flag out sideways. But NVIDIA's going to, and now we're going to pause, right? And what we're going to see is the stochastics RSI come on out. Now the big key is, we're going to double click. The key is here is when the stochastics curve, the bearish div there, that was your entry there when the bearish div, but you can even wait for the stochastics to come and look like they're about to cross the dotted line or cross the dotted line. How can you see the whole screen? Double click an asset and it's going to make it the entire screen. Say I want to double click just the price action. Say I had another indicator, you could double click it, but just this you're going to see, and it's going to, you're going to see this. But again, we crossed the dotted line right about there, which told you that a good chance to get in there about 49, 48, right? Stops could have been below that wick at 39. And boom. And I knew because price action went sideways and Stokes went down that there was a big move coming for NVIDIA. You could tell this was going to happen December 2023. And then you play out, and boom, we go right to that target there too, the measured move and some for NVIDIA, right? How do you know where you're going to go? You do use this measured move here. And actually, it was extended. It said it went even higher, yeah. And then then it had the crazy move, right? And then you're going to start to get a sell-off when you get overbought. You're going to start to kind of see as the stochastics trend down, but price action trends up. But that was my sauce right there on NVIDIA. And, again, on bigger time frames, sometimes, it's been a long time since we got a perfect entry like that for NVIDIA. Now I'm starting to see something similar here, just kind of like, shoulder, head, shoulder, but at least a bounce back to the top of the trend line, even if we make this, I'm wary of this right shoulder for NVIDIA because it's gotten moved up a lot, but no matter what, I'm looking for a bounce somewhere into this region. Then if we can go sideways, NVIDIA could take off. So you're looking again for this to reset. If we reset and we're sideways, boom. And again, that could take some time. You have to have patience for this. Hit shift again, like that could take 200 days, 140 days before the next execution. What people don't realize is how much time it takes to be a big shot hitter in the big markets, right? It's not easy. You got to really know your timing. You got to nail your timing. You got to have patience on your timing. You got to nail it. All right. Let's talk about another bigger move for BTC in the long term. We're going to look at the all-time history index again for Bitcoin. We're going to go back into the past here. We're going to show you as Bitcoin started to make higher lows, even though it reset on the stochastics RSI. So here's Bitcoin resets in the stochastics, but it makes a higher low. That is going to tell you that a move is coming. And then we had this here, see, drawn out for Bitcoin. If you were in my trading group or watching me live, I was going over this on the live stream. I still can't believe it. I was calling out that was the level I kept hitting, was $27,000. We were at 6K, and I was calling a $27,000 Bitcoin. And we were at 6K somewhere in June, and I was saying it looks like somewhere by April, everyone, of 2021, basically under a year, we're going to be sitting pretty here at about $27,000 BTC. I can just remember like it was yesterday. I mean, it was just 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. I can't believe that. We're going into May of 2025 in a few days. Unbelievable. May of 2020, the halving of 2020. Two halvings just 5 years ago. Unbelievable. So we could see that Bitcoin was going to come down, and you could see the stochastics reset, but you made a higher low. Again, whenever you're higher than the previous low, when the stochastics make a low, it tells you that's likely your entry, because stochastics tell you when you're done with momentum. If you're done with selling momentum, but you're higher than the previous high, then you must be able to be going further to the upside for Bitcoin. That's kind of the idea here behind BTC. This is what you're showing. Now, if you're watching the stream right now, watch your Discord too, because I am also somewhere else posting at the same time right now. And you can be getting the real-time updates for Bitcoin while I'm also here. So while you're getting the teachings, just check your Discord. I'm also posting real-time updates. I'm pretty sure I have access in the cabin here to the Wi-Fi. So I'll be pumping it out right now. So get this knowledge, but you're also in real time. Right now as we speak, just double check. You'll be getting your updates for Bitcoin. And I won't leave you hanging. So I'm vicariously still here, even though I'm not. It's weird. Like, I'm alive, baby. I'm alive. And I know exactly how to get you where I need to get you. Again, another thing I want to talk about is just the universal movement of that cup and handle. And how many times I've used the cup and handle to really bail myself out of some of the most amazing calls here. But Bitcoin, you can see, made this cup and handle here, and we talked about that for a long, long time. Went over the idea that we were going to go on a massive, massive tear to the upside. This looks like a massive cup and handle for Bitcoin. And, you know, all the assets love the cup and handle, but I feel like Bitcoin loves it even more, you know. But that says that's going to the upside too. And that gives you a pretty big target, $135,000 BTC. And I'll always remember this too. I'll never forget this. But this was a beautiful cup and handle too as well for Bitcoin that did absolute damage. I mean, look at that beautiful cup and handle, right, for Bitcoin. And it hit the target. Like, it showed us where we were going. It told us what was going to happen. And then just regular technical analysis. I love how TA plays out for BTC. Look, shoulder, head, bit of a right shoulder. There's your neckline. You could draw that and say that's where you're going. I mean, and then we barely retested the neckline, basically. We made a bear flag. Then the base of that, you know, boom. And that said we were going somewhere down to about $14,000. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We were up at 16 and then, you know, and to be in my trading group, we went through this together in a group. We watched 69 all the way. I doubled the trading group. We found Luna. We found ways to short. We made money. There was altcoins actually ripping here. I did a 7x on some coins. You know, remember a DMTA? The high coins were flying in it was like December of 2022. It's been a crazy run. We've done so much with Bitcoin. We've done so much with these altcoins. The insane hidden bullish divergence call. Let's talk about hidden bullish divergence real quick as well. So Bitcoin's ripping. Everyone's freaking out. They say there's no more coming, right? And I'm just going to put on all my indicators here for a second. But mainly the RSI is what we want to focus on, right? But so like everyone here said Bitcoin was going to dump, and we didn't know. Like, nobody knew what was going to happen. No one had a crystal ball or knew exactly what was, and it looked pretty bearish. There was head and shoulders getting drawn. There was like descending triangle flags here. People saying, oh, we're about to dump. And Grayscale was about to unlock a bunch of Bitcoin. RSI looked pointed down. Stokes were down. Looked like they could maybe go lower. MACD was turning, but it wasn't amazing. And there was a lot of bearishness in the air. There really was. But I was able to pick out the hidden bullish divergence and say, you know, this looks like it's going to bounce off hidden bullish here and get ourselves a big move, break through this high and continue to pump to the upside. So I liked what I saw here and I stuck to my guns. This got me to also pull a Fibonacci, stuck to my knowledge, you know, and that got me to the 618 fib. That threw me like, I was like, huh. Whenever you see a coincidence in trading, my whole life, I thought there's no such thing as a coincidence. So that helped me in this trading scenario here. We had bounced to that 618 golden pocket and boom, it told me that's a coincidence. How do you have a lower sold stochastic, very low RSI, MACD turning, and you're bouncing off the 618? I said there's a bounce coming. And then I'm also, you know, I love my patterns, and a falling wedge breaks out 68% of the time, just the length of the pole. This says we were headed somewhere back to $69,000, $70,000 Bitcoin, you know, not too long from now. And I stuck to my guns here. I loaded up on Bitcoin publicly, and this ended up being one of my greatest calls ever as far as altcoins, Bitcoin, and everything else. Phantom 2 ripped. A lot of coins ripped here, and we made a bunch of gains. And a lot of people were shook, and they got wrecked. And then I saw the cup and handle there, and we were able to continue, again, just trading flags, understanding how price action works. Okay? Then I did that video about the 21-day moving average. Remember, then Bitcoin pumped really hard away from the 21, and I knew that that was unsustainable. It was a double top, and then also there was bearish divergence. I saw that the RSI was pointing down while price action was pointing up away from the 21. So for the rest of your life, you get in on hidden bullish. When you have, when you're oversold, when you're bouncing off the 618 golden pocket, you get out. When the 21 and the 200 are far apart, you're away from the 21-day moving average. You have bearish divergence on price action. You're going to see this over and over again. 21 away from the 200. Swing up, swing down to swing down, right? So bearish div with the 200 away from the 21. Almost 90% of the time, you're getting a bit of a drop to the downside. So remember this. We saw this, right? Bearish div away from the 21. Just remember that. And then remember the hidden bullish. So then Bitcoin ripped. We got our pump. Everything was good. But then look what happened. It looked just like before. We had bearish div, swing up. The swing up was an uptrend, but this was a downtrend, just like this. Okay? Just like this. And the 21 was away from the 200 MA. 21 right there, 200 right there, 21 away from the 200, very far away. Same here, 21 away from the 200, very far away. Hidden bullish divergence, bearish divergence. So I had seen this story before, and it told me that we were likely going to get some type of pullback for Bitcoin when we were this high, and we did get the pullback. Now, luckily, Bitcoin didn't, revisit. And again, could it collapse further down? There's a chance. I'm open-minded. But the stochastics being so low, the RSI resetting to a bit of a double bottom, I see a big move on this weekly for Bitcoin. And you really just have to kind of, flap out that flag and suggest, we're ripping. And we don't go to $136,000. I'd be surprised based off my years of data and what I'm seeing. Again, anything is possible. I can't be like, guarantee we're doing this, but I'd say there's a 90% chance we continue to rip here and we crack through the all-time high and have a blast to $136,000 BTC. I mean, $94,000 Bitcoin is amazing. You can't beat that. It's absolutely amazing. I'm super excited for that. So that's, I had to show how you can kind of see how things are formulating. And then when you do this, you got the hidden bullish, you pull the fib, you got the 618 Fibonacci off of the wick to wick there. You got the oversold stochastic. You got the RSI swinging down. And it just says, hey, I'm doing just what I did before. So I could find out that we were going to pull back based on the years, what we did before. And I could see that we were going to bounce based on what we did before. You see? It was all there. And then the cup and handle. I mean, this was a bull flag. That is a beautiful bull flag. That just looks like Bitcoin's going to eat the world up. Again, it doesn't have a huge leg now if you consider what we've already done. And, they may want one more push, 121. I don't know. It's everyone says we go higher. Maybe there's just one more big pump up. There's going to be a bunch of people that sell early because they can't handle it. And there's going to be people that don't sell whenever. It could go either way here. Yeah, I'm like, I got to make up my mind. Like, what am I going to do? Like, Solana goes back to 300. Do you take the profit or you try to ride it out again? It goes to 300 and go back to 120 again. You're going to feel like a complete fool. But you sell 300 and it goes to 600. I guess you won't feel that bad. So we got to have a game plan. You got to have a game plan. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing I say needs to be taken as financial advice, but a game plan is needed really in everything in life. I don't care what it is. Landscaping, I don't care, trading, heck, fishing. I don't care what you're doing. You got to have a plan, right? God bless everybody out there on the live. Thank you for jumping on in. Appreciate each and every one of you for being here and sharing your most precious asset with me, and that is your time. And thank you for all the super chats out there. I appreciate that. We were trying to get to them, but we can't really because it's not a real time. You know what I'm saying? But we appreciate the support and we thank you so much. But if we do see a super chat on the live, look out for the Discord because my team may be sending them to me right now and I could be posting them to the Discord. So we still may actually be doing live super chats. You know what I'm saying? Vicariously, because this is playing, but I'm in the background pumping them out. So there's a chance that my team could be feeding them to me through the Discord. I'm getting the connection and I'm sending it. So watch, if you're in the group and you send it in a super chat, there's a chance we can still get it done. So don't get too, I know it may sound confusing, but we're getting it in. And we're going to be able to get you going no matter what here every single day. All right. So this is kind of how we can figure out where Bitcoin's likely going to go. So when I tell you a big time prediction, or when I call longs, or I put a bunch of money into Bitcoin at certain areas, I'm not just doing it to be a big shot. I'm not doing it to try to be awesome or try to see if I can call something. I'm showing you years and years of data, and I'm like intricately experimenting with it in front of you and saying, hey, well, this happened there, that happened there. Then the probabilities are very high that we're going to get this move. And lo and behold, we get it. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Funny though, someone that bought Bitcoin at 67,000 in November 2020, we weren't that far away. Just 4 years later, we weren't that, someone could have bought there and be very close to their buy zones, which is crazy, right? But again, missing these lows are so awesome. Like being able to grab these lows is oh so important. As far as I'm concerned, it could really just change your life. And that's why I'm always looking And again, divergences are key. There was a key bullish divergence here on the weekly. And this is how I knew too that there was likely going to be a pretty big move based on this idea, because you had swing down to swing down, swing up to swing up, and it just told me there was going to be a bigger move to the upside eventually. And you don't get bullish divergence on the weekly ever. Like I tried to scan and look for it, and I went on multiple assets: Tesla, the Dow Jones. You know what I mean? I wanted to look at all the biggest assets that have a lot of money and be like, have I ever seen it before? There you can kind of see it was there, but that was like an odd hidden bullish. This is it went up a little bit, that went up not the same, but it really wasn't it. And I kept looking and I really couldn't find it until 2015. Right about, technically here, that's flat, but that goes up. And so this is technically kind of like, even right there is like a hidden bullish right there in 2000, because that's moving up while that moves kind of flat. Not even as strong, but still you got to take it, and that ended up being your bottom, right? When the RSI finally made a higher low, you're on your way on out of here. And then there was a crazy wick down one more time. All right, they got us at $157, and then Bitcoin was gone. Funny, on that rally, Bitcoin went from 157 on the low all the way to 19,000. Like, can you believe? So you got in $100, all right, in 2015. And if you just held until the end of 2017, which was basically 2 years, just 2 years, you could turn $100, $150 into $20,000. I mean, only, right? Bitcoin, man. These people made an absolute, oh my gosh, I didn't get $100 Bitcoin. I knew about it when it was $350. And you can imagine when I started buying it, but dang, I was close to getting it super, super early. I just didn't know where to buy it, how to get it. It took me a second to set all that up. Research it, figure out what was going on, and get myself into crypto pretty early. Now it's been, I can't believe it. 2016, I really started looking at it. So next year, it'll be 10 years that I've been in cryptocurrency. A lot of people think it takes 7 to 9 years to become a multimillionaire in crypto. Some people think it's going to take their first cycle. There's a lot of talk because people get rich quick, but a lot of people lose it quick too. And but crypto tends to make people pretty wealthy over time. I know a lot of people that have gotten wealthy off of crypto. Like everyone I know in my circle is basically a crypto multimillionaire that has changed their life in some way, shape, or form inside of the crypto space. There's so many different ways too. There's mining, right? There's working for teams. There's dev. There's people that promote different services. There's people that work for, CoinDesk, all sorts of stuff, right? It's almost never ending. You can write articles, you can research, you can cover events. There's so much in the space. YouTube channel, trading, right? Affiliate marketing, and it just never ends. And the space is just getting started, so it's really a place for growth. Get in today while you can. Get your foot in the door for an expanding industry. Just going to pay whoever decided to jump on in. It really is, and again, the people that work really hard to make great infrastructure are going to make even more, but there's money for anyone that takes a part in cryptocurrency. I truly believe that. I see if this is a parabola too, a beautiful parabola for Bitcoin, and just like everything going the way us Bitcoiners designed it to go. Another bigger move up, and then, we'll see what happens after that. But so far, so good for Bitcoin. I like what I'm seeing for this punch for BTC to the upside. And it's only a matter of time before we get a bigger move further on out here. So I am looking for this macro idea for Bitcoin. We crack this 109.5 and just continue to rip. Everyone's saying that we're going to, what do you guys think? How high do we get? 250,000. Some people are saying 500,000. I like to lowball it. 135,000 looks like the highest we're going to get. Let's get real. Like, it takes a lot of liquidity and a lot of time for Bitcoin to make these big moves. That's basically its algorithmic move there out of the flag. And I see $135,000 Bitcoin. Thing is, that could get there by August. Then we could get another kind of pullback or a flag of some type. And then we could get one more rally. That will take us into May or March, and then that could be the end of the cycle, somewhere at about 187,000. and we could get one more beautiful run from November, December, January. And like, if they cut the rate right there and they start to print, you know, you're going to see something. Let's take a look at the CME. I want to double check this because, you know, 10 days we have an FOMC meeting. So that's coming in hot. That's coming in hot. But so right now there's an 89%. Now it used to be 100 now, so they're starting to fail a little bit. You know, just a little bit of percentage tweak is enough for me. But again, 89.6%. So, you know, let's see what happens in June. Now we're starting to talk about a rate cut. Now there's a higher probability of them cutting the rates in June. It tells us that there's going to be a rate cut in June. This thing is usually spot on. So it says one more meeting, everybody. Just one more meeting. And we can get our rate cut, which is pretty exciting. That rate cut comes in June. It would make complete sense. Because look, you get, you know, we Bitcoin kind of starts front running it. We get the rate cut, and then that would make sense why we would run so hard in July and August, right? Then we'd have to get a sell off. Nothing keeps going up. We'd mill out, but then another rate cut would come. And then boom, 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 like, and two more rate cuts that could really propel us. This actually may not, it may go more lateral, like it may be an upward trending flag because the rate cuts might just make it more very appealing. And then we just, at that point, the rate cuts can only take you so far. Enough people have made money. They start taking profits. There's a sell off, and then we run into the bear market. We go into the halving, and Bitcoin has to collapse. At that point, you're going to look at a Fibonacci retracement. Let's take a look here. Bitcoin's high of the cycle. You take a fib from there to there, and we did come back all the way to the 786 retracement. Never really went lower, but we did that. You go to the high of this cycle here for Bitcoin too. Take it from the beginning of the cycle here, right about there, and bring it on up. And we came. Just want to see where I'm at here. Yeah, there's my wick right there. And boom. So you can see, though, we come pretty close, a little past that 786, though, but we definitely come right around here. Go to the weekly 200 MA. All right. Now, the last rally was the first time we went lower than the weekly 200 MA. Gave us an even better idea of what's happening. So my whole point is, if this is the high, I'm just playing some games here with the fibs. But if this ends up being the high, 187,000, which looks disproportionately too compared to the last two runs, right? But you would think that we would come somewhere back down to $85,000 Bitcoin. Like that would be the bear market low. All right, so we would rip up to 87, 187, something like this. And then Bitcoin would, you know, come on down. And then we had our halving in 2028, right? So we'd come on down, have our halving in 2028 here. You know, price would start to appeal. Boom, 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 and then we'd be on to our next bigger move, right? Into 2030. 2031, we would be peaking, 18 months, right? Almost 2032, we would be peaking after the halving. 2028 would be the halving, yeah. So 2030, we'd be peaking somewhere here, like, you know, and then the pullback again, right? And I mean, it's saying it's going to take some time, like 2030. I don't know if we'll get to $500,000 by $1 million, but you know, ARK Invest trying to say we're good. You know, diminishing returns, you know, almost looks like it would be more like that would make more sense. Maybe we only get to 150,000, 160K of this rally. You know, just like a downward trend line. But even that upper trend line says, you know, 2032, you're only at $300,000 Bitcoin. Somewhere by 2050, you know, again, you would think, but with money printing, it could be an exponential move. I don't know. I want to be realistic with the price action here for Bitcoin. Things I haven't really looked at a lot. I've never really did this type of bigger analysis for Bitcoin too as well. But I figured it was fun to do. You know, I just wanted to break down, show you guys some things maybe you hadn't thought about. I wanted to see some things I hadn't thought about and have some fun with each and every one of you and break that down. So that's definitely something that could it could play out over time. Again, we're highly speculating. We're going to see where this rally ends up, but it's good to kind of have these models in play. I'll tweak them as they go. And, I might see more than most and be ready for something most people just couldn't even fathom based on expanding my mind and seeing things that could be possible, right? So I'm excited, though. This gets me going. Now, if there was any coins that I'll be getting into still, if there's still time to get into all coins, people are freaking out. There's been a big pump for SWI. Are there still coins that I would be looking into? For me, yes. The SWI ecosystem is hot, and there's still some coins behind the scenes. There's AXOL, which is a tiny little meme coin, but it looks like it could have some potential. I'm looking at SWI Lend, SWI AI, right? Anything to do with SWI that could have a bigger move. Those coins are probably going to come back with big swings and big moves because the SWI ecosystem is awesome, and people have made money in SWI, so they're going to use that extra SWI, and they're going to find places to put it, and it's going to move the market in those smaller coins. So look out for the whole entire SWI. Look out for the whole entire SWI ecosystem. Excuse me there. That's something I definitely will be looking closely at. I definitely think virtual is coming back. Cookie, virtual, anything had to do, Vapor AI, Vader AI, all that stuff. Definitely wouldn't give up on it. I would look back on it. Leia AI, all those models, all the, Colin. AI's not over. AI XPT, AI 16Z, Cerebro. We can see a big move there. So we already know the coins. We have an edge on everyone who's coming into the market because they have no idea what was hot before. We already have the narratives. We already kind of have the look. Also, RWA is going to rip. I see TokenFi coming back. I see Rio coming back. Props doing damage. GFI. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big move in RWA. It will take some time, right? Ondo's going to lead that. And with Ondo kind of getting in with the SEC too, and then the Fed actually releasing a statement saying to ease off, saying crypto and the banking system should be cool. They used to kind of put a lot of caution on that. Now they eased off on that statement, said, hey, crypto's cool. The bank should be able to play with it. Everybody's open. Let's go. It's full play. And so that has created an open place. And then we have a supply shock for Bitcoin. You got to take into the account that Bitcoin's getting less and less on the exchanges. More people want Bitcoin. More people are buying it OTC on the back end. You have states getting in. You have entire countries wanting to buy it. States are going to be fighting over, how much Bitcoin should they each have? And the Bitcoin reserve for the United Federal Reserve, for the United Federal Government, the United States Federal Government, that's a big deal too as well. Everything kind of starting to go our way in crypto land. And so I want to leave you with that idea, everybody. And on this beautiful Monday, shorter live stream than normal, but I want to let you know I'll be back probably somewhere in a couple hours. So don't worry, I'm going to make up for this short live stream. I just had to jump out a little early, but I'll be jumping back in, I don't know, somewhere by 2 p.m., 3 p.m. your time, maybe at the latest Eastern Daylight Savings Time here, New York City time. So have no fear. I'll be back. We'll probably do some live trading too. Stay in the Discord. I probably posted some live stuff right now and kept you up to date too if you're in the Discord. So have no fear. We're doing it all. We're giving you awesome green, evergreen information that can kind of cover you forever. We're giving you projections for Bitcoin on the bigger idea, and we're also going to be pumping out those charts, and we'll be back not too long from now. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you so much for sharing your most precious asset, which is your time. I'll be back in a few hours to keep you going, and then we're going to keep the stream going throughout the week, even though I'm out here in beautiful Dubai. God bless everybody. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for kicking it with me, and I'll see you on the next one. Remember, I leave you guys with this one statement. I've researched so many millionaires, billionaires, successful people, even people that didn't make tons of money but are doing what they love. There's school teachers out there that are the best, most successful people. They change millions of people's lives, or thousands of people's lives. But, they don't mind making, 50 to 60, 80 grand in some small town, but they're successful. I just want to make that point. My point is, I've studied so many successful people, and they always had one statement that really hit me, and they knew the secret to success. And you know what the secret to success is? You know what it is? I figured it out. I found it out. I thought about it. They told me the secret to success. It's getting started.